Well, let's try it again. I'm Teresa from capturingthecharmlife.com, or on Instagram here. You can see me on Homeschool Mama Self-Care. And today I get to introduce you to Linda, Fun with Linda, previously known as Homeschool Fun with Linda. And there's a reason why it's not Homeschool Fun with Linda today, because she has a very special announcement to share that she's shared over the last week.
I can hear you.
Yay, we did it.
Oh my goodness. I didn't have my son here to help me.
Yeah. Wow, what a different day for you, hey?
Oh my goodness. Between my foot and menopause, I'm dying over here.
Yes, I've been there. Well, not the menopause, but I have been there in the pandemic. I had 3 months of truly not being able to walk, and it made me kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You don't realize how much you need your feet until you don't have them.
yeah. I like literally said that. I got a lot of writing done, a lot of online stuff done, but I truly needed to burn off tension. And so then I was doing these specific yoga exercises that you could do with a boot cast, which,
Yeah.
yeah, sort of
Well,
affects.
we have a 2-story home, so I'm literally crawling up the stairs at night and sliding down. And I've got 3 more weeks before I can use any weight on my foot. And then I can start slowly using the walking cast and doing physical therapy. So it's
Yeah.
definitely been a challenge.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I genuinely connect with that. I've only in the last week got to 25 minutes on the elliptical, and that's like almost 6 months later. But that's not going to happen to you.
No, I hope not. Too much
No,
to do.
no, exactly. Yeah, you've got a lot going on this year, and so I don't want to go into different directions that you don't want to go in. But I was listening to the live that you and I had this, I think it was last year, a little earlier than this last year, and your husband was dealing with chemo. He was, I think, going into a second round of chemo and radiation,
No,
and
he's
now,
just now going through radiation. He
yeah,
did chemo before and had surgery, and they declared him cancer-free because this new ctDNA test they had, which was wrong, and the whole time it was still there spreading. So now stage 4, and he's now going through radiation with chemo pills combined currently.
I'm
So it's been a rough 2 years, but we're doing it day by day. I joked the other day on a video, I said, we're definitely a hot mess. Poor kid, Grayson, first time after homeschooling 8 years, we put him in
yes,
the public school,
yes,
just because, my husband has to be the priority right now.
right.
And between that and my broken foot that just had surgery, me going through menopause, I said, we're rolling into open house, a hot mess, this poor kid, pray for him. So Rob literally
That,
came straight from radiation. I'm on my scooter. It was a mess, but we made it and we survived.
so that was last or yesterday then,
It
his
was
first day.
Wednesday. No, Tuesday. Tuesday was open house. He started today was his first day of real school. So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow. So many
bittersweet.
big changes. Yeah.
Yeah, in middle school on top of that. So just throw him right in there in middle school where he's changing classes, has 8 different teachers. It's crazy, but
Well, in
I
my experience, the resilience is built within the home, and then they go out into different scenarios. And if he has had a lot to deal with as well as you guys. But can you give me? I know the goal of our conversation is fun, and
yes.
and part of me goes, oh, I can't believe I asked you to talk about fun in the homeschool when you're in a scenario that is super not fun right now.
But it's okay. We had 8 years of fun. And
Yeah.
like I said, I feel okay sending him off now into this journey because I've gave him that firm foundation in
Yeah.
Christ, and I've given him that firm foundation in our morals. And,
Right.
I've poured my heart and soul into him as every homeschool mom does, And so
Exactly.
it's scary for me and I'm worried, but all you do is pray a hedge of protection around them and feel confident in the way you've raised them and then stay on top of them and involved in their life constantly. And at any point it doesn't work out, we'll just pull them out and I'll homeschool them again. So we always
Exactly.
have that advantage living in Florida. It's very flexible, very easy to do. So we always have that backup shot. Back up.
I had a really hard time when my first daughter said she wanted to go to school. And it took her a solid year and a half or so to convince me because I'm like, but I'm a homeschool mom and it's the best thing. And we don't do that. And then she finally convinced me because she's a very strong, very, very independent kid in the first place. She came out of the womb like that. And then I, of course, required her to do the requisite homeschool versus school essay and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you fast forward a few years, my third daughter is in public school for the second year now. She's going into her second year. And I've learned that it's kind of a journey for them. It's kind of their own journey, and then they get to explore life a little bit more in their own world or on their own terms. But they have all, just like you said, the background of what we've provided them. It's already there.
Yeah.
They're already, engaged in a certain way. So yeah, it's all good.
Yep. Yep.
Except for the other things that are truly a challenge.
Yes. But we'll get there one day at a time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
My heart is truly with you.
Thank
but
you.
For all the moms that are here that are like, talk to me about fun, I'm going, okay, first of all, I want to go, you must be super resilient to be able to talk about fun in this context. And also tell me your first thoughts on fun, because you've got an entire account,
That's
ton
right.
of opportunities. Yeah.
Yeah, to me, it's a passion to make learning fun.
Yeah.
I think if you instill that in an early childhood, they learn that learning is fun, it instills that love of learning in them for a lifetime.
Right.
So I always tell moms, especially in the younger years, don't pressure it. Keep it fun. Keep it hands-on. Lots of bright colors. Get outside. Learn through nature. All that stuff when they're younger. Introduce the curriculum later, where they're going to have to sit down, paper after paper, after book after book. Take time on that, and even then, stop. Have breaks. Be silly. Throw things at your child. Make them run around the house. Down, whatever you need to do, but keep it fun and keep it interactive, and it will change not only their life and education, but yours too. I mean, after a while, like I said, we've homeschooled 8 years, our son, and I've homeschooled my grown daughters before that. It gets monotonous no matter how seasoned mom you are, and you want to just snap sometimes, and you want to snap your child sometimes and sell them to the highest bidder. So you've got to have those moments of fun and just being silly, or going to the library, or going on a field trip, or just going outside and running around and jumping the trampoline, whatever it takes to, get them focused back to going into work. But the younger ages especially, keep it fun. I've got video after video on how to teach your child without textbooks and curriculum for preschool and kindergarten. From preschool to second grade, I made up my own curriculum with Grayson. I just learned what the standards were for our state, what the goals were, and then I found fun ways through games and activities and stuff like that, teach them all the foundation that he needed for those grades.
Well, the research right now is coming out that learning actually is best enabled by play. And all you homeschool moms that have been doing this for a while, you already knew that. The research bore out reality in your homes, and we know that, except that we still have this instinct to try to make things schoolish.
Yeah. It's because most of us we went to school. We know the standards. Right. Sometimes we give in to pressures and, the outside side saying you need to do this. You got to buy the most expensive curriculum. You go to them little homeschool conventions and they sucker you into buying everything the first couple of years when you're new. But once you begin your journey with your child, you become more familiar with the way they learn, what works best for them.
Exactly.
And, you learn that there's other things you can do outside of the box to teach them the concept of math or language or whatever. Yeah.
And they don't even know you're teaching them. And there's
absolutely.
I'm not against formal lessons, and I do them. And at the same time, if you can do it in a way that you're engaging something without them knowing, all the better.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
How many pine cones are there? How many lizards did we see? I spy the collard green. Oh my gosh, can you find the letter A on that license plate or that billboard? There's so many fun activities to do outside that you're teaching your child. Find the word stop as we walk around the neighborhood. Find the word whatever. And they have no clue they're learning. We do water gun. I put the sight words in the bathtub on little sticky things, little like rubber things. And I'd have my son shoot with the water gun. The sight word said, the sight word see. Oh, you got to be a better aim than that. There's so many ways to make it fun. And spelling, I always say, I have many posts on the sticker game. I absolutely love that. If he spells the word right, he gets to put a sticker on my face. If he spells it wrong, I put a sticker on his face. But the best part of it is he gets to rip it off me when he's done. So he really,
Yeah,
really practices those words so he can stick a sticker on my face and pull it off.
right.
So there's just so many ways to make it fun and hands-on and physical for little boys, especially,
Yeah.
that keeps them engaged longer.
Yeah, that is exactly right. And you know, there's so many different ways to jump off this discussion, but I'm thinking about books. Books are fun for me. They weren't when I was a kid, funny enough, but they are now. And I love creating these memories around books with my kids. And you can grab pretty much any book. Let's see, I've got a book here, of course. One of my favorite storybooks is The Girl Who Hated Books. I don't know if you're familiar.
Oh, funny. Yeah.
It is such a clever story, but in any book you can create a curriculum. I would say,
Oh, yeah.
you could, like, literally anything. I think there was a curriculum that was called Come Sit By Me or something like that, that actually purposefully showed you how to go through these kinds of books and pull out art concepts or math concepts or history or geography, and that to me is fun.
Oh, and if you can't think of it on your own, if you're a new mom, there's many curriculums based on books right now. Charlotte's Web is one that's very popular. I can remember doing a whole thing, a whole like semester almost on Charlotte's Web.
Yes.
The counting, the visuals, like you said, the reading, vocabulary, the science behind it, all of it, you know. It's really interesting. You could, like I said, teach a child in so many different directions. You just have to find what works best for your child, because every child, you know, is different.
Yeah, they're all different. And like I was saying with one mom this week, that the key is just to start putting your feet on the ground and trying something instead of saying, okay, what's the right philosophy or what's the right approach? You can do that and you can read it all, and that's great, but you're probably going to come at the end of 15 years or so and to the same place most of us are, and it'll be pick and choose whatever you want. And meanwhile, you're including your version of what you think an education is, you, your partner, and your child, and watching how your child actually interacts with that. And then you naturally will do that. You are more likely to do the things that they naturally want to do or learn because it works. And
Makes it a lot easier on you too, a lot less
yes,
stressful.
all of you. Yes, all
For
of
sure.
you. Yeah,
Yep.
way more fun.
And education does not have to be expensive too. I always tell people that. You
Yeah.
know, when I bought my curriculum, I always bought it used. There's used curriculum sites all over Facebook and everywhere. Or if you know someone, say, look, I'd like to buy that when you're done. You don't have to buy
Yes.
anything new except for the consumables, of course, the workbooks, that kind of stuff. And then it's like I posted a video for preschoolers using brown paper bags. I mean, there's
Right.
just so many thrifty, cheap ways to teach your child. And then Dollar Tree, my gosh, I don't know if you guys have those in Canada. It's the best thing ever.
Yeah.
Dollar Tree has a great educational aisle that has even workbooks and manipulatives and hands-on stuff that's amazing, bright colored, fun, and interactive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there really, you can use anything. And a lot of people, they have this idea, because I'm specifically speaking to them, that because I have the capacity to buy that curriculum or the resources or whatever, therefore you have to have a certain level of income to do it. But I don't actually have governmental support in doing it. So I don't have cash to do it. It's not set aside for that purpose. So I'm less motivated to spend money on things. I've gone to public school libraries that were I don't know, they were closing, so I collected a bunch of books that way, or I've gone to secondhand stores or borrow from the library. Like, really, all of these resources are things I actually do. I buy stuff too, but I buy very little compared to what I
in America, we get no assistance for homeschooling either. Everything is out of our own pockets.
Yeah.
And we have a thrift store here. It's called the Goodwill, and you can go and buy 50-cent, 40-cent books that are amazing, look brand new for 20th of the price of the real price. You know, there's absolutely lots of ways you can get creative, or just better yet, just go to the library and borrow it for free. Or if you're involved in a homeschool co-op or group, switch with other moms. You know, I've
Yes.
seen moms even take turns teaching each other's children on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you know, and that gives that mom a day off. And then, you know, the other day she'll have all the kids. So there's
Yes.
so many options in homeschooling.
And I think that's an ideal way to approach actually curriculum or things that you want to use in your homeschool, the fun stuff, at least for you. But you want to use that stuff because, or borrow that stuff because you don't want to make a commitment. As soon as you make a commitment to something, then it will sit there after you get bored with it or realize it's not that effective. And then you'll feel like I have to do that. But you actually don't have to do that if you're trading it or borrowing it from a library.
Or when you're done with it, you have two giant boxes in the garage that your husband yells at you every day to get rid of. You've left so many
Mine is,
books over the years.
mine
You
is
can
all
take books
neatly on
out of
bookshelves, and I'm waiting for grandchildren to use it. So,
Oh,
you know, my teenage girls need to get on it.
yeah.
I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
I have tons of books in the classroom, and then the
Yeah.
ones I kept the sentimental ones, but the
Yes.
ones that he's outgone, you know, outgrown or whatever, and that we only use for school reasons, they're out in the garage waiting to be gifted to somebody else.
So you have been homeschooling, or you homeschooled. You have three girls, and then you have a son, just like
Yes,
me. And you are like, I think your oldest is much older than my oldest, about 30 or so.
she's 32.
32. Wow. You don't look like you have a 32-year-old.
Thank you. I'm definitely, as I'm in menopause, you're sweating. I'm
Okay,
definitely old
yeah.
enough to have a 32-year-old.
Yeah, there's
Yeah,
your reminder.
32. My middle daughter turns 30 in September, 28, and then my youngest is about to turn 11.
So how
So,
long did you homeschool in total?
well, the girls, we did preschool, and then we did a year and a half of when they should have been elementary school. We moved, we just kept them finished out a year, and then the next year. So I don't know, an extra 3 years maybe, plus the 8 years of Grayson, so about 11 years.
So would you say it was fun the entire time?
No,
Yeah.
no,
You
no.
should know, audience, people that are listening to us, I did not ask her that in advance, and I assumed that she was going to say no. So
Yeah, yeah,
good
no,
guess.
Bill, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, when I
exactly.
my girls back in the dark ages, we didn't even have internet, you know, so it was much different then. The curriculum choices were very narrow. Where now, my gosh, the resources are just
Yeah,
amazing, you know. But yeah, even with the best scenario, there are going to be hard days. There are going to be
yeah.
days that you want to kill your child or sell them or whatever, you know,
At
joking, of
least sell
course.
them. Yeah.
And you know, and they're going to want to get rid of you too and quit, and you're going to want to quit times, and you may need to take a day off or two, you know. But you know, you just got to regroup, get out, do something fun, take your mind off of it, reset, and then start again. But it's normal to have days like that, for
It
sure.
absolutely is. Yeah, it's not always going to be fun. But I really think that should be the way that we focus everything is this working? Is it fun? And no, it won't always be, but make it go towards that goal because over the long term, it will be so much more satisfying and you'll actually want to stay with it over the long term.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, create play in your homeschool. There's full accounts out there that are just about game schooling, and I have many games. Like I don't know that there's a game that we haven't tried. Okay, there's a game about sushi. I just recently saw that. I'm like, we don't have that one, but soon. This one is a Professor Noggins box. I don't know if you're familiar with these ones.
Mm.
They're card games, and it really is like trivia. But I use card games like this or anything that they are learning that is trivia or could be used as a trivia game. I use it on, or I used to use it quite frequently on Fun Fridays as a Jeopardy game with the kids. And then they would answer it in a classic Jeopardy way. It was kind of like checking to see where they were at with different things. And it was really interesting to see it didn't matter their ages or their differences in stages. They had definite interests and they were very capable of, say, my 8-year-old could have been very good at ancient history. And the older two siblings that were teenagers were like, is he cheating? And no, he wasn't. He just loved the thing. Or they would be really good with physiology or, you know, whatever. They had different interests, but it was a fun way to incorporate trivia. And since I don't test, it was kind of a way to, I don't know, kind of stimulate a testing thing, though I don't think it's required.
Oh yeah, so many games. Learning through play is the very best way. That's always been my motto. You know,
Yeah.
from Candyland for counting and coloring,
Yes.
the Hangman to spelling. There's so many games starting at a very early age that again kids will be learning and they have no clue that they're learning. Let them be the banker and Monopoly to count back the
Yeah,
cash. But there's just
exactly.
so many, just adding dice, or subtracting dice is fun. So there's so many games to play that, yeah, you're learning and have no clue they're.
You have a recent post on Instagram about pre-writing lessons with
Yeah,
pre-K
yeah.
level. Would you share a few of those with us?
Yeah, basically the first thing you're going to do with and I see preschooler moms make this mistake all the time. Don't jump right into writing letters. Okay, you want to have them form their letters properly. If they get into the wrong habit of forming them wrong, it's going to be harder to break. Okay, so what you're going to do, little hands first. You got to work the fine muscles, the fine motor skills. You got to build those up. We always remember in school when our hands were cramping because we wrote so much and we'd shake our
Mm-hmm.
more. You want to build up those muscles. So basically, you're going to do a lot of hand play, a lot of transferring with tongs. You see parents doing digging with stands or transferring water into cups. All that starts to work the fine muscles. And then you're going to use larger writing utensils, like larger markers or the larger pencils, because they can't quite grip the small ones yet. And you're going to try to teach proper formation of holding a pen or pencil marker from day one. Okay, and then basically start with just lines. You're going to do straight line. And then when they master going from point A to point B, whether they're matching stickers or whatever, matching colors, they're going to draw the lines. And then as they develop that, you're going to let's do a little loop. You're going to draw a line and loop and go. Draw a line. And then you're going to practice zigzags. And what you're going to do is write a highlighter on the paper or a brown paper bag and let them trace what you've highlighted. That way, they're learning all the foundations for writing letters and numbers. They need to know sticks, know circles, and you need to know how to do curves. So practice those in your pre-writing skill. They're going to write all letters and numbers, and then shapes, and help them start drawing shapes. But all that's working their fine muscles, and they're learning the foundation to be able to write letters and numbers. And letters and numbers come later. You first have to start with the lines, the loops, and the zigzags, and then move into letters.
That's great advice. And actually, it reminds me that oftentimes we have this idea of what a learning outcome is. If we've heard that educationese concept in schools, that what is it that the teacher wants us to know or our children to know by the end of a grade?
Right.
And that is in a school system, but it's not required at home. But oftentimes, we're not thinking about those kinds of mental processes, how our brain actually has to connect and know how to hold the pencil or know how to make a curve. And we underestimate the things that the child needs to learn. That's why we have to follow where they're at instead of you got to know how to spell your name.
Yeah, a lot of moms jump right into that, which is fun.
Right.
There's nothing more exciting than watching your child write their own name. That's
Mm-hmm.
fine. But if your child writes their name incorrectly, later on, that's going to be trouble. So just make sure you're following a writing tablet that shows you which way to do the arrows, which one to write first. But when they're writing essays and they need to write fast, the writing in the proper direction and writing neatly really will pay off later. So you got to build your foundation correctly when they're little, and so that it's strong when they're older.
And those concepts are things that can be incorporated, or those ideas that are kind of loose learning that's actually connecting in your brain kind of learning, or developmental stage stuff. You can actually encourage that through all sorts of games. Like I'm sure everybody is familiar with Spot It. Do you know this one?
Nope.
Okay, my son loves this. There's a lot of versions of this, but really it shows you a bunch of forms and you need to be able to recognize where there is a double form, or like where there is one here and also here. Can you see that? I can see this, a teardrop. I think that's a drop.
Right.
You need to do this as fast as you can. And then you figure out how many, each of you has. If each of you, whoever has more is the one that wins. But this game, you would say, but is that educational? Because it's not math, it's not science. Like, what is it? and it's kind of, I'm not sure what you would call this, a spatial recognition or
Yeah,
it's pattern recognition.
pattern.
Um, but that's the kind of stuff that your brain actually, it is creating neural networks. It's
Yep.
forming things so that you can do the next skill level up. And so it doesn't matter what the game is. I think we could sit here and actually figure out how it's educational.
Yeah, and one more thing I go back to with the handwriting. Um, when they're young, they don't need to write with pencil and paper and all that right away. They can practice in sand,
Yeah.
in rice. There's so many fun ways to stimulate multiple sensories at one time to get them to learn the correct formation of writing a letter or spelling or writing sight words later on. So lots and lots of for writing besides sitting down with a paper and pencil, but eventually they will have to do it anyway.
You know, some of the fun things that I did was really just try to flow with what they were interested in. Like I had one daughter who just didn't want to do anything formal at about grade 9, the oldest one. And so she spent, I think, a solid 6 months researching, studying, learning all the different things about the Titanic. And that was a true jumping off point for obviously history. And I can't remember all the things she did, but it was way beyond just learning about this moment in time. And that was fun for her. And it really did incorporate a lot of learning. But the same thing with, you can do this with older kids too. You know, you probably aren't going to convince them to sit down with pinecone math manipulatives
No.
out polar coordinates or something, whatever that means, because I don't actually know what polar coordinates really mean. I know one of my girls are doing that, but there are ways to maybe include Twizzlers and mini marshmallows and create DNA strands and introduce the concept of, what is it, guanine, tyrosine, anyways, all of the 4 different elements of DNA. There's ways to include fun in all of those elements. Although I would generally say at that age, you kind of have to just step back and let them do their thing.
Yeah, but especially science, there's always fun ways to blow stuff up, different combustions and stuff that makes it so much fun.
Yeah, I love that stuff.
Yeah.
So, you also had shared, you were talking about math manipulatives, and I'm not sure if it was pine cones or if it was candy. Do you do a lot of fun things with candy?
We did.
Yeah.
Grayson's older now, so he's like,
yeah. I don't know about that.
But definitely, you can take a bag of Skittles or M&Ms and sort them by color. Do graphs, bar graphs, or whatever, circle graphs with how many of colors are in a bag of, color. You could do sorting with little kids with them. You could do skip counting. You could do counting. There's endless thing. And then you can do the vinegar reaction with it and watch the colors bleed. There's endless amount of stuff you can do with counting. Really, you can use anything really you can do something to do with it educational. It's just thinking outside the box.
Pinterest was a really good resource for me, actually.
Yeah.
As long as you're not expecting it to always turn out exactly like him.
Yeah. Pinterest. Instagram was always my go-to in the beginning.
Okay.
Instagram has changed a lot with the influence of TikTok now. But it used to be in the beginning, I followed all educational videos, moms sharing what they do in their day and very authentic, video. It's changed a lot now. But I got a lot of inspiration from Instagram.
Yeah, I think that probably speaks to when we started homeschooling, actually, being on Pinterest, which is funny. I think there's a lot of people still on Pinterest, is what I've been told. But whatever your source, just don't expect it to turn out the way that they showed you. Because I've done so many candy cells, like biology candy cells, and all of that candy, flat candies and Jello, and then you have a nucleus, which is a jawbreaker, and they all sort of bleed into each other. And it's not quite as pretty as you'd see, but it's a really clever way to approach, cell concepts.
Oh, yeah.
Candy cells.
And the cells there to pick up whatever's left over with the candy, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Because
whatever
will still eat it. Yeah, exactly. There's so many different ways, but even, including ways that are non-candy related. I remember feeling so tired of being with little kids in about January or February. So if we had an intense moment at home, I'd be like, let's just go for a drive. I don't know why putting us into a small minivan or in a, in a small box space of a minivan was really satisfying, but it fit the bill for me. And we would turn on, because we're Canadian, we would turn on the radio, and we had this one weather network that would actually explain the weather in both French and English. And we learned some basic numbers, and we learned some basic concepts around weather in French. And all of that, me deep breathing and trying to relax, driving around our neighborhood listening to the weather. And it sounds weird and quirky, but it was effective.
Hey, whatever works. Whatever works.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. So, as a way to close our conversation, I want to ask what you've learned alongside your child this week, or have you done something fun? Because no pressure, you've got a lot going on right now. But
This week I learned to trust my son. I think he is capable of so much more than I give him credit for. And I think he is more mature and more ready than I give him credit for. You know, as a hovering homeschool mom who's literally sat by his side over the last 8 years, it's been really, really hard for me letting go.
Yeah.
But I am learning to sit back and trying to watch him as he steps up and responsible for his own self and get trust and ready and everything on his own. I'm thinking I'm so proud. I'm so proud of him. I need to let go and trust him more, but I'm proud of me. I mean, like I said, homeschool moms, we put our heart and souls in our children.
Yes.
And it's bittersweet when they take off and leave. So,
Yes.
but you have to be proud of the journey that you've both done and been on, because it's the foundation of he is today.
Yeah.
And I'm proud of us. We've been a great team over the last 8 years. I'm excited to see what we go from here.
Well, I celebrate all that you've done with all of your kids, and you are spot on about that you have to release them, and then they show you that they actually can do this. And I'm in a similar scenario where I'm, launching my second daughter, who's going to ballet school in September. And I must say, I don't want to, but apparently that's the way it's supposed to be. We weren't supposed to do this forever.
Like I said, I got three grown daughters. One lives in Connecticut. Luckily, the two moved back to Orlando, but my oldest daughter with my grandbabies to Georgia for years, and it's bittersweet. You cry when they leave. You don't want them to leave, and you realize that's the whole goal. The whole point is them to grow up, get their own life, and leave. They just leave behind. It's horrible, but exciting all in one.
Somebody said it's like a rebirth, like you're rebirthing them into the world, and I gotta say, it's very accurate.
Yeah, it's
very
hard.
accurate. So then I've learned that you have to actually recreate your vision in your family, in your life. As I haven't experienced where you're essentially helping to make more independent, not quite launch your middle schooler, but you're making, creating this independence for him. And so then all of a sudden your family dynamics are really shifting. And your vision of what you're supposed to be doing in all of this. So what is your vision, or where are you going with this?
Well, right now I'm nursing back my foot.
Yes.
And my husband, he's at radiation.
Yeah.
So this is not exactly how I planned my days alone when I sent him off to school. This is not at all what I envisioned. I envisioned having a working foot and being able to walk, and have the freedom there and go to the gym. And I had all these big plans, and I'm having to come up with new plans. And right now it's elevating my foot and keep swelling down and getting my husband to eat what and he can. So our next 6 weeks look a little bit different than I envisioned, but we'll eventually get there and come up with new plans together.
Yeah, I genuinely wish peace and healing for all of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
A lot going on. And you have a swimming pool in the backyard.
I do.
I wish I had a swimming pool in my backyard when I had my foot in that scenario, because as long as someone's not in the pool, I would be in that pool.
Yeah. As soon as my stitches are out.
Yes.
Let float my foot.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it was such a pleasure to chat with you today. Thank you for joining.
So much.
Yeah, we'll talk to you soon. And thanks for joining, everybody.